The proving grounds on Varus 7 stretched across 12 kilometers of dense forest, and today they hosted the galaxy's most expensive military demonstration. Commander Reith adjusted her crystalline carapace as she watched the final preparations, her faceted eyes reflecting the morning light in rainbow patterns. 12 species had gathered to showcase their latest stealth technology, each claiming superiority over the others. The Krillian delegation went first, unveiling their phase-shift generators that bent light around objects. The technology hummed with power, drawing energy from fusion cores the size of cargo containers. Their soldier vanished completely, though the distinctive whine of the generators gave away his position to anyone listening. Still, the assembled representatives applauded politely, making notes on their data pads. Next came the Vorthan energy shields, creating a bubble of refracted space that rendered anything inside nearly invisible. The demonstration cost 300,000 credits in power consumption alone. Dr. Sylvan, the insectoid head of research, clicked his mandibles in appreciation as the Vorthan representative explained the complex mathematics behind the technology. 6 more species followed, each presenting increasingly sophisticated systems: holographic projectors, electromagnetic dampeners, quantum entanglement cloaking, molecular restructuring fields. The technology grew more impressive and more expensive with each presentation. Reith felt confident in the Council's technological superiority, secure in the knowledge that their combined resources could detect any threat. Then the human delegation arrived. Ambassador Priya Kaur walked onto the observation platform accompanied by a single man wearing plain military fatigues. He carried a small backpack and nothing else. No equipment crates, no power generators, no technicians scrambling to set up complex machinery. The other representatives exchanged confused glances. "This is Owen Fletcher," Priya announced, her voice steady despite the skeptical looks from the assembled aliens. "He will demonstrate human stealth capabilities." Reith leaned forward, her crystalline structure refracting light as she studied the human. Owen stood casually, hands in his pockets, looking completely unconcerned by the advanced technology that had been displayed before him. He appeared to be in his early 40s, with weathered skin and calm eyes that constantly scanned the surrounding forest. "Where is your equipment?" Dr. Sylvan asked, his compound eyes searching for hidden devices. "Your power source, your projection array." "Don't need any," Owen replied simply. "Give me 30 minutes in that forest and your best tracking teams won't find me for 3 hours." The observation deck erupted in chittering, clicking, and various alien expressions of disbelief. Reith's carapace darkened with skepticism. This human either possessed technology so advanced it was undetectable, or he fundamentally misunderstood the nature of military stealth. "You expect us to believe," Reith said slowly, "that you can evade our sensor networks, thermal imaging, motion detectors, and electromagnetic scanners without any technological assistance?" "Yes," Owen's response was matter-of-fact. "Impossible," a Vorthan representative declared. "Our sensors can detect a mouse's heartbeat from 2 kilometers away." Owen shrugged. "Your sensors look for what they're programmed to find. I won't give them anything to detect." Priya stepped forward before the murmuring could grow louder. "Commander Reith, we accept your standard test protocols. Owen will enter the forest for 30 minutes of preparation, then your forces will attempt to locate him. Standard rules apply." Reith considered refusing, but curiosity won over skepticism. If nothing else, this would demonstrate the futility of primitive methods against modern technology. Perhaps it would discourage other species from pursuing such backwards approaches. "Agreed," Reith announced. "Owen Fletcher, you have 30 minutes. Our tracking teams will deploy with full sensor arrays. When we find you in the first 10 minutes, perhaps your people will understand why the galaxy has moved beyond such primitive tactics." Owen smiled, a strange expression that didn't quite reach his eyes. "When you can't find me after 3 hours, perhaps your people will understand why humans survived on a death world long before we reached the stars." He walked down from the observation platform without another word, heading toward the forest tree line. The assembled representatives crowded around the sensor displays, watching his thermal signature move deeper into the woods. Multiple cameras tracked his progress, ensuring no deception. Owen reached a small stream about 400 meters from the tower. The cameras zoomed in. As he knelt beside the water, Reith expected him to reveal some hidden technology, perhaps extract a cloaking device from his pack. Instead, he began removing items and setting them aside carefully. "Is he undressing?" Dr. Sylvan asked, mandibles clicking in confusion. Owen stripped down to his base layer clothing, then knelt in the mud beside the stream. His hands scooped wet earth, and he began covering his arms with it. The aliens watched in stunned silence as he plastered mud across his skin, working it into every exposed surface. "He's covering himself in dirt," a Krillian observer stated flatly. "This is his stealth technology, mud." Owen didn't stop. He broke apart ferns growing along the stream bank, weaving the fronds together with practiced efficiency. More vegetation followed, leaves and small branches incorporated into a rough framework. He used tree sap to secure everything, transforming himself into something that barely looked humanoid. Priya watched the reactions around her, seeing the dismissive gestures and derisive comments. These species had forgotten what it meant to survive without technology, to adapt using only biology and intelligence. They were about to learn a valuable lesson. Owen stood, now covered head to toe in mud and vegetation. Even through the high-resolution cameras, he blended remarkably well with the forest background. He checked his watch, nodded to himself, then moved into a thick stand of undergrowth and became completely still. 30 minutes complete, Reith announced. "Deploy tracking teams, full sensor sweep. This demonstration will be brief." 12 alien soldiers entered the forest, their equipment humming with power. Motion trackers, thermal imaging, electromagnetic pulse detectors, and more. The observation deck watched confidently as the teams spread out in precise search patterns. The first team reached Owen's last known position within 4 minutes. Their sensors swept the area. They found nothing. Confusion replaced confidence as team after team reported negative contacts. Owen Fletcher had vanished. 2 hours had passed since the tracking teams entered the forest, and Commander Reith's carapace had shifted through 17 different color variations expressing frustration. On the observation deck, what had begun as confident anticipation had deteriorated into bewildered concern. 12 trained soldiers equipped with the galaxy's finest detection. Technology could not locate one mud-covered human. Dr. Sylvan paced back and forth, his chitinous legs clicking against the metal floor. "The thermal imaging should have found him immediately," he muttered, reviewing sensor data for the 14th time. "Human body temperature runs approximately 37 degrees. Even with environmental camouflage, the heat signature should be obvious." "Unless the mud acts as an insulator," Priya suggested quietly. She had remained calm throughout the demonstration, occasionally hiding a knowing smile. "Impossible," Sylvan's mandibles clacked dismissively. "Wet earth would cool quickly in this environment. It cannot maintain thermal equilibrium for this duration." Yet the sensors showed only ambient forest temperature patterns. Small animals registered clearly, their body heat standing out against the cooler background. But Owen Fletcher had become thermally invisible. On the display screens, Team 3 swept through the area where Owen had prepared his camouflage. Their electromagnetic scanners probed for any technology, any power source, any electronic signature. They found nothing but natural electromagnetic noise from the planet's mineral deposits. Team leader Vaughn, a veteran Krillian tracker, spoke into his communicator. "Sector 7 clear, no contacts, proceeding to Sector 8. His 4 eyes scanned constantly, trusting his equipment to detect what biological senses might miss. 50 meters to his left, Owen Fletcher lay motionless in a shallow depression beneath an overgrown fallen log. Mud had dried on his skin, creating an insulating layer that matched the ambient temperature. The vegetation woven into his improvised ghillie suit broke up his outline completely. More importantly, he had positioned himself in dead ground, a slight fold in the terrain that sensors often struggled to penetrate effectively. He watched Team 3 pass by, studying their movement patterns. The Krillian walked with absolute confidence in his technology, eyes on his scanner more than the environment. The other team members followed similar patterns, trusting their equipment to alert them to threats. None of them looked at the fallen log, saw nothing worth investigating in its moss-covered surface. Owen had learned long ago that people saw what they expected to see. The aliens expected technology, signatures, emissions. They did not expect someone to become part of the landscape itself. Back in the observation tower, Reith commanded the tactical display to zoom in on Team 5's position. "They have passed through Owen Fletcher's last known position 3 times, she observed, her voice tight with controlled irritation. "How is this possible?" "He is simply hiding very well," a Vorthan representative suggested. "Perhaps in a cave or underground burrow." "We have ground-penetrating sensors," Dr. Sylvan countered. "Any subsurface cavity large enough to conceal a human has been mapped and checked." Ambassador Priya decided to offer insight. "Commander, may I ask what your sensors are programmed to detect?" Reith's crystalline features shifted, a sign of consideration among her species. "Heat signatures, electromagnetic emissions, motion above threshold parameters, mass density anomalies, chemical markers." "And if someone produces none of those things?" "Impossible. A living being generates heat, creates motion, possesses mass." "But what if the heat matches the environment? What if the motion falls below your threshold? What if the mass is indistinguishable from natural terrain?" Priya's questions hung in the air. Dr. Sylvan suddenly became very still. "You are suggesting he has defeated our sensors not through superior technology, but by understanding their limitations." "Humans have hunted and hidden on Earth for millions of years," Priya explained. "We developed persistence hunting, tracking prey for days until it collapsed from exhaustion. We learned to read environments, to move through them unseen, to become part of them. These skills did not disappear when we developed technology." Team 7 reported in. "Expanding search to outer perimeter, still no contact." Reith made a decision. "Seal all forest exits, deploy energy barriers around the entire test zone. If we cannot find him, we will ensure he cannot leave. Eventually, he must reveal himself." The shimmer of energy fields appeared at the forest boundaries, invisible walls that nothing could pass without triggering alarms. The aliens settled in to wait, certain that time would expose the human's position. Owen watched from his concealment as energy barriers materialized in the distance. He had anticipated this response. During his 30-minute preparation period, he had not stayed near the stream. That was simply where he wanted the cameras to see him. While mud had covered him and vegetation had been woven into camouflage, he had been memorizing terrain features, identifying approach routes to the observation tower itself. The aliens had focused on the forest. They had not considered he might target the command center. He waited until Team 8 passed his position, then began moving. His progress was glacially slow, each motion calculated and deliberate. He stayed low, used every scrap of cover, became one with the forest floor. His breathing remained controlled, shallow enough to avoid creating visible vapor in the cooler air beneath the canopy. The journey to the tower's perimeter took 40 minutes, covering barely 300 meters. But when Owen finally pressed himself against the tower's outer wall, no alarm sounded. No sensor registered his presence. The metal was sun-warmed, and his mud-covered skin matched its temperature closely enough to avoid triggering thermal alerts. He found what he had spotted during his initial survey, a maintenance access point with a drainage channel leading inside. The aliens had secured their tower against technological threats. They had not considered someone might use physical infiltration. Owen moved into the drainage system, timing his advance with the ventilation cycles to mask any sound. Inside the tower, Commander Reith was studying sensor displays, watching her teams methodically clear the forest sector by sector. None of them knew the human had already breached their most secure facility. Owen reached an access panel leading to the observation deck's lower level. Through the grating, he could hear Dr. Sylvan lecturing about sensor theory. He smiled, that same expression that did not quite reach his eyes. Time to make an entrance. Dr. Sylvan was explaining sensor calibration theory when Ambassador Priya gasped. Her hand flew to her mouth as her eyes widened in shock. Several other representatives turned to follow her gaze, and the observation deck descended into chaos. Owen Fletcher stood near the back wall, still covered in dried mud and vegetation, holding a small branch he had picked up somewhere during his infiltration. He had been there for at least 90 seconds, listening to the discussion about why their technology could not possibly fail. Commander Reith spun around so fast her crystalline structure refracted light in a dizzying rainbow. "Security breach!" she shouted, and alarms began wailing throughout the facility. "Stand down," Owen said calmly, raising his hands. "I am the breach. The demonstration is complete." Armed guards rushed into the room from 3 directions, weapons trained on the mud-covered human. Dr. Sylvan's mandibles clacked rapidly in agitation. The Vorthan representatives backed away, their confidence in galactic security suddenly shattered. "How did you get past the perimeter?" Reith demanded. "The energy barriers are active. Every access point is monitored. This facility is supposed to be impenetrable." Owen gestured to himself. "I walked in. Your barriers stopped energy signatures and mass readings above certain thresholds. I registered as background noise. Your sensors looked for technology. I used biology." He set down the branch carefully. "Your maintenance access on the eastern wall needs better security, by the way." The observation deck fell silent except for the soft hum of electronics. 12 species that had dominated the galaxy through technological superiority confronted an uncomfortable truth. A single human using mud and patience had defeated their most advanced security systems. Priya stepped forward. "Perhaps now you understand why we wanted to demonstrate human capabilities. We are not technologically superior to the Council species, but we approach problems differently." "Primitively," a Krillian observer muttered. "Effectively," Priya corrected. "Owen, would you explain what you did?" Owen wiped some dried mud from his face. "Your sensors are sophisticated, probably the best in the galaxy, but sophistication creates dependencies. You program them to filter out background noise, natural movement, ambient temperature. I exploited those filters." He pointed to the tactical display, still showing search teams in the forest. "Thermal imaging works great when body temperature differs from environment. Wet mud creates an insulating layer that equalizes my heat signature with surroundings. Takes about 20 minutes to reach equilibrium, which is why I prepared near the stream." Dr. Sylvan leaned forward despite himself. "And the motion sensors? Programmed to ignore wind-blown vegetation and small animals, right? Otherwise you would get constant false positives." Owen smiled. "I moved slowly enough to register as natural environment shift. The vegetation I wore helped break up my outline. Your pattern recognition software could not distinguish me from background." "The electromagnetic detectors," Reith asked. "Only detect technology. I brought none. Human biology does not generate electromagnetic signatures strong enough for your sensors to notice." A Vorthan representative spoke up. "But you breached our tower. How did you pass the access monitors?" "I watched the guards during my preparation time," Owen explained. "Noticed their shift change happens every 3 hours. Also noticed your drainage system is not monitored because you assume nothing biological could navigate it. I waited for the shift change, used the gap in coverage, and entered through maintenance access." He paused, letting that sink in. "You secured your facility against technological threats. Hackers, drones, electronic infiltration. You never considered someone might just crawl through the plumbing." The implications rippled through the observation deck. These species had evolved in environments where natural camouflage was unnecessary. They had jumped straight to technological solutions for every problem. The concept of working with the environment instead of against it was foreign to them. "This is absurd," the Krillian observer protested. "You are suggesting we abandon centuries of technological advancement to smear ourselves with mud." "No," Priya interjected firmly. "We are suggesting you recognize that technology is a tool, not a universal solution. Humans use advanced technology too, but we also maintain fundamental skills that do not require power sources or complex equipment." Owen nodded. "On Earth, we have a saying, the best tool is the one that works. Sometimes that is a fusion-powered scanner. Sometimes that is knowing how to read broken branches and disturbed soil. Smart operators use both." Commander Reith's carapace had settled into a contemplative blue shade. "Our entire security doctrine assumes technological parity among adversaries. We defend against weapons and sensors and electronic warfare. We never considered an opponent might simply bypass all of it." "That is our concern," Priya said gently. "The galaxy has potential threats that might not play by your technological rules. Pirates, insurgents, hostile species from uncontacted regions. If they study your defenses and realize the gaps in your thinking, they will exploit them." Dr. Sylvan's compound eyes reflected the light as he processed this information. "You are offering to teach us these methods." "We are offering partnership," Priya corrected. "Humans have skills the Council lacks. The Council has technology we are still developing. Together, we create a more complete defense strategy." Reith was quiet for a long moment. Around the observation deck, representatives whispered among themselves in various languages and communication methods. Finally, the crystalline commander spoke. "Owen Fletcher, how many humans possess your level of skill?" "Thousands," Owen replied honestly. "Every human military trains basic fieldcraft. Specialized units take it much further. What I did today is considered fundamental competency for our scouts and trackers. And the Council has nothing comparable." "You have other advantages," Owen acknowledged. "Better sensors, stronger materials, faster ships. You just need to balance technology with fundamentals. Right now, you are vulnerable to anyone who thinks asymmetrically." Reith straightened. "Ambassador Corps, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I formally request human military advisors. We need to learn what our technology cannot teach us." Owen grinned. "Good thing I brought colleagues. They are waiting outside with gear for a full demonstration. This was just the introduction." Diana Cross did not believe in wasting time. The former search and rescue specialist had pulled survivors from collapsed buildings, tracked lost hikers through blizzards, and once spent 4 days locating a downed pilot in hostile territory. She approached training with the same intensity. "Technology fails," she announced to the assembled alien soldiers on their first morning. "Power runs out, equipment breaks, sensors malfunction, your biology does not. Learn to trust it." 50 alien warriors from 8 different species stood in neat formation on the proving grounds. They represented the elite of their respective militaries, each confident in their abilities. Most viewed this human training as a formality, something to endure before returning to real work. Diana studied them with experienced eyes. "Strip your gear. No sensors, no communicators, no weapons. You will learn to operate with nothing but your natural abilities." The protests came immediately. A crystalline soldier named Court objected loudest. "Our armor is part of our biology. You ask us to remove our natural defenses." "I ask you to rely on skills instead of advantages," Diana replied calmly. "Combat is not always fair. Sometimes you are caught." "Without equipment, what do you do then?" Owen stood beside her, now cleaned up and wearing fresh fatigues. "Show them," Diana said. Owen walked to a pile of equipment. "This is a standard emergency kit: knife, rope, fire starter, water purification tablets, basic first aid, total weight 1 kilogram, total cost 40 credits. He held up a Krillian phase shift generator. "This is your standard issue stealth device. Weight 7 kilograms, cost 80,000 credits, power duration 4 hours. He set down the generator and picked up the emergency kit. Which one keeps you alive longer when you are stranded in wilderness? Dr. Sylvan, who had requested permission to observe the training, clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. The emergency kit provides fundamentals. The generator provides temporary advantage. Exactly, Diana said. Now we teach you fundamentals, first lesson, reading terrain. She led them into the forest without equipment. The aliens followed reluctantly, feeling vulnerable without their technology. Diana stopped at a clearing and pointed to the ground. What happened here? She asked. The soldiers looked at dirt and grass. They saw nothing unusual. Their training had focused on sensor interpretation, tactical data analysis, technological warfare. Nobody had taught them to read the Earth itself. Owen knelt and pointed to slight depressions. Something heavy passed through recently. See how the grass is bent but not broken. That means within the last few hours. The direction of the bend shows movement from east to west. He indicated disturbed soil. Hoofed animal, probably the local equivalent of deer, group of 5 based on track spacing. A Vorthan soldier named Rena spoke up. How does this help in combat? You are in enemy territory, Diana explained. Your sensors are destroyed. You need to know if patrols have passed nearby. Tracks tell you when, how many, and which direction. You can avoid contact or set ambushes based on environmental reading. The training continued for hours. Diana taught them to identify disturbed vegetation, read weather signs, find water sources without sensors. Owen demonstrated how to move silently through different terrain types. The aliens struggled with concepts their technology had made unnecessary. By the third day, small breakthroughs began appearing. Court discovered his crystalline structure could sense ground vibrations that humans missed. This gave him advance warning of approaching animals. Rena's Vorthan physiology allowed her to detect air pressure changes, predicting weather shifts hours before they arrived. Good, Diana encouraged. You each have biological advantages humans lack. Combine them with environmental awareness, and you become far more effective than technology alone. Dr. Sylvan approached Owen during a break. I have been studying human evolution. Your species developed persistence hunting, yes. For millions of years, Owen confirmed. We could not outrun prey. We outlasted them, tracked them for days until they collapsed from exhaustion, required reading environments, understanding behavior, thinking long-term. While most species evolved immediate advantages, Sylvan mused. Strength, speed, natural weapons, humans evolved patience and adaptability. Made us vulnerable in the short term, Owen agreed, but incredibly resilient over time. When the environment changed, we adapted. When tools broke, we made new ones. When prey disappeared, we found different food. That flexibility is what got us to the stars. The fourth day brought scenario training. Diana divided them into teams and created simulated emergencies. Teams had to navigate without technology, find resources, complete objectives using only natural skills and creativity. Court's team impressed everyone by constructing a shelter using local materials that remained invisible from aerial surveillance. They had woven living vegetation with dead branches, creating a structure that thermal imaging read as natural forest canopy. Rena's team successfully tracked and captured Diana herself, combining Vorthan pressure sense with techniques Owen had taught about reading subtle terrain disturbances. When they surrounded her position, Diana smiled with genuine pride. You are learning, she told the assembled soldiers that evening. They sat around a fire, no technology permitted per Diana's rules. Not just techniques, but principles. Technology amplifies capability. Understanding amplifies intelligence. Together, they create true tactical superiority. Commander Reith had been observing the training closely. How long before they reach acceptable proficiency? She asked Diana. Depends on what you mean by acceptable, Diana replied. Basic environmental awareness, another week, true field expertise, years of practice, but they have grasped the fundamental lesson. Survival is not about having the best equipment. It is about using everything available, including things your opponents do not consider relevant. An alarm interrupted their discussion. Emergency signals blared from the command center. Wreath received a priority communication, and her carapace immediately shifted to urgent red coloration. "Hostile force detected on northern continent," she announced. "Unknown insurgents using advanced stealth technology. Our sensors cannot track them. They have captured Council Research Facility." The training ground went silent. Diana and Owen exchanged glances. "What are your orders?" Diana asked. Wreath looked at her students, these elite soldiers who days ago had trusted only technology. "We deploy combined teams, human instructors with Council forces, use everything we have learned. Show these insurgents that the galaxy has adapted." Owen grinned. Time for final exam. The northern continent of Varus 7 was a maze of canyons and thick vegetation. Somewhere in that wilderness, insurgents held a Council research facility. Traditional forces had established perimeter with full sensor arrays. They detected nothing. Owen's team moved through the terrain without electronic emissions. He led Wreath, Dr. Sylvan, and 3 other alien soldiers who had excelled during training. They carried minimal technology, relying instead on skills learned over the past week. "Signs are fresh," Owen said quietly, examining broken branches. "Group passed through here less than an hour ago, moving fast, not worried about pursuit." Court knelt beside a muddy patch. 3 distinct track patterns, 2 bipedal, 1 quadrupedal, total count approximately 12 individuals. His crystalline structure vibrated slightly. "I detect residual ground disturbance continuing northeast." Wreath consulted her minimal equipment. A simple compass, basic radio, emergency supplies. No sensors, no advanced detection gear. She had insisted on leading this mission personally, wanting to prove the value of their new training. "They are confident their stealth technology makes them invisible," she observed. "They do not bother hiding physical traces." Dr. Sylvan tested the air with his antennae. "Chemical traces indicate use of fusion-based power systems, probably running cloaking fields continuously." His mandibles clicked. "Expensive technology, these are not common criminals." The team moved carefully through a ravine. Owen held up a fist and everyone froze. He pointed to a cluster of rocks ahead. Nothing looked unusual through normal vision, but Owen had noticed something off about the color pattern. "Heat shimmer," he whispered. "Very slight but visible if you know what to look for. Something is generating warmth behind those rocks." Rena, the Vorthan soldier, closed her eyes and focused. "Air pressure differential, ventilation system exhausting heated air, equipment cache possibly." They circled wide around the position. Owen's suspicions proved correct. The insurgents had established a supply depot, confident their cloaking fields made it invisible to sensors. They had not considered that trained observers could spot environmental inconsistencies. "Mark position and continue," Wreath decided. "We find the main camp first, then coordinate strikes on all locations simultaneously." The trail led deeper into the canyons. Twice they detected and avoided insurgent patrols. The enemy soldiers moved casually, their cloaking technology making them overconfident. They never checked for physical tracks or environmental disturbances. Owen found the main encampment by noticing birds avoiding a particular area. "Wildlife knows something is there," he explained. "Their instincts respond to threats even if they cannot see them. Watch animal behavior and you find hidden dangers." The team established an observation post on a ridge overlooking the camp. Through careful watching, they identified patterns: waste disposal, guard rotations, supply movements, all invisible to sensors but obvious to patient observers. Diana's team arrived from the western approach. She had tracked the insurgents using water displacement in a nearby stream. "They are dumping runoff without filtration," she reported. "Following the contamination led straight here." Wreath coordinated with other teams via basic radio. 8 combined human-alien units had converged on the position using traditional tracking methods. The insurgents had no idea they were surrounded. "We could call in heavy weapons," Court suggested. "Bombardment from orbit would eliminate them." "And destroy the research facility they are occupying," Reith countered. "Plus any council personnel they hold hostage. No, we need precision. We need to get inside their perimeter." Owen studied the camp layout. Their cloaking technology creates a false sense of security. They have minimal physical guards because they believe sensors cannot detect them. We can walk right through their defenses if we use proper camouflage. The assault teams prepared using techniques learned during training, mud and vegetation for visual concealment, careful movement to avoid motion sensors, patience to wait for guard rotations. They approached the camp as ghosts, invisible not through technology but through skill. The insurgent leader, a Krillian mercenary named Voss, sat in the command center reviewing stolen research data. His phase shift generators hummed efficiently, maintaining perfect invisibility from any technological detection. He felt completely secure. Then Diana Cross stepped out from behind a cloaking field generator that Voss had believed was hiding him. She had walked past 12 security checkpoints without triggering a single alarm. "Surrender the facility," she said calmly. Voss reached for his weapon but found Owen Fletcher already pressing a blade to his throat. "I would not recommend that," Owen suggested. Throughout the camp, insurgents discovered they were surrounded. The Council forces had penetrated every defense without triggering sensors. 47 insurgents laid down their weapons when they realized their technological advantage had been completely negated. Voss demanded answers as Council soldiers secured the facility. "How did you find us? Our cloaking technology is military-grade, impossible to detect." "Your technology is excellent," Reith confirmed, her carapace displaying satisfied green patterns. "Unfortunately for you, we stopped relying solely on technology. We learned to read what you left behind. Your equipment hides electronic signatures. It does not hide broken branches, disturbed soil, heat shimmer, or altered wildlife behavior." Dr. Sylvan examined the insurgent equipment with scientific interest. Sophisticated stealth fields probably cost millions of credits, completely useless against opponents who observe the environment instead of sensors. The insurgents were transported to Council custody. The research facility was secured, and combined human-alien teams had proven their effectiveness. News of the operation spread quickly through military channels. 3 weeks later, Owen stood before the Galactic Military Academy's inaugural class in environmental tactics. 200 alien soldiers from 15 species had enrolled. Diana taught similar courses on 3 other worlds. Ambassador Priya addressed the Council during a formal ceremony. "Humans are not superior warriors. We are not stronger, faster, or more durable than many species here. But we bring perspective. We remind the galaxy that intelligence means using every available tool, not just the most advanced one." Commander Reith stood beside her. "The Council formally recognizes human military advisors as full partners in galactic defense. We have learned that true security comes from balancing technology with fundamental skills, from thinking asymmetrically, from never assuming our advantages cannot be countered." Owen watched new students practice camouflage techniques. Aliens who weeks ago had trusted only sensors now studied broken twigs and soil composition. They would never abandon technology, but they would never again depend on it exclusively. Diana joined him. "Think it will stick?" she asked. Owen smiled. "Old habits die hard, but after Voss and his crew got captured despite having the best stealth tech money could buy, I think the message got through. The galaxy is learning what humans figured out long ago." "What is that?" "Survival is not about having the best tools. It is about knowing when to use them and when to rely on something older." He gestured to the training ground. "These students will return to their units with new perspective. They will teach others. Eventually, the whole galaxy benefits." "From mud and patience," Diana chuckled. From adaptation, Owen corrected, the most human trait of all,